Hey everybody, this is Rochelle, Digital Learning Specialist here, and I'm going to do a short spotlight with my friend here, Miss Felicia Cherry, and she's from North Richland Middle. So tell everybody a little bit about what you do here.
Okay, so my name is Felicia Cherry, and I'm the math interventionist here at North Richland. So I work with students who sometimes struggle with math, and I have to be a little creative with different strategies for them.
Awesome. So let's talk just a little bit about what got you started looking for another way to do rewards, classroom management, behavior, intervention, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, going back to the whole being creative part, as an interventionist, I don't do grades. And so one big thing about intervention is hard work. If I can get students to work hard, then I can help them with their knowledge and their content. So I'm just using it as a motivational tool.
Well, what led you to Class DoJo? Because I know there's a lot of different apps and methods out there. So why did you pick that particular program?
The first reason is because I was a dojo parent at one time. My son, who's now in 5th grade, had Class DoJo at one point in his elementary days. And I liked it, the ease of communicating with the teacher and kind of knowing what's going on before I even picked him up. Also, it's free. I kind of thought it was a little baby, so I went online and I looked at Pinterest and different blogs, and I saw a lot of middle school and high school teachers using it. And so I thought I would give it a go.
So you said you use your cell phone and sometimes you use your iPad to run the app.
Yes.
Outside of that, is there anything special that you need to do dojo in your classroom?
There's nothing special. I use my regular computer and I just project it. I choose to use my phone. I don't have to, but I choose to free up my iPad for my students to use during station time.
So now talk a little bit about the setup process. Did you find it easy? Was it difficult? Did it take you a lot of time? Just a little bit about that.
So the setup was pretty easy. I purposefully did not invite parents or students to begin with. I knew that if it wasn't easy for me and I couldn't be consistent with it, then I didn't need to do it.
Okay.
And so what I did is I started using Dojo before the students knew that I was using it. So I used it on my own for about 4 or 5 days. And I also networked with a few people who had used it that I knew in education, and just asked, how do you use it? When do you get points? When you deduct points? That kind of thing. And so I went ahead and set my classes up and I used it. The only thing is that students had used it a little bit in the past and they knew the sound on my phone. So they knew right away, Miss, are you using Class DoJo? We used that before. Can we do it? We want to do it. We really liked it. So I used it on my own for a while before I invited parents or students.
And so can you just give us a typical, just a little snapshot of what does that process look like when you've got students in here? Like, how does that work?
Okay. Well, first I wanted to focus on the behaviors I wanted to decrease and behaviors I wanted to increase. And so based on that, that's how I set up my negative and positive. One thing is tardies. So students get a point for showing up on time, or if they have a pass. If they are tardy and they don't have a pass, then they get a negative dojo point. Another thing is being on task during station time. So if they're working on stations, I see they're on task and they get a dojo point. Just different behaviors, excessive talking, inappropriate comments. I also have different points for taking initiative, being leader, different things that I would like to recognize. So that's pretty much how I decided, what to give points for.
Yeah. So are they aware during class if you're giving them points or taking away points? Are they aware that that's happening during that time, or do they just find out later?
They have 2 choices. They can log in and they can download the app. Their parent can download the app. They can get on their own device and they can check out what they got points for. Also, I do project it, and so students see their name pop up on the screen with whatever they're getting their point for, and that's very encouraging. They really like that a lot.
Oh yeah.
So this is an example of how I give DoJo points or deduct DoJo points. I can click on the student, and then you can make your own positive or negative DoJo points. So you can give the student a point for having the number of the day finished, if they're on time, or here are the negative DoJo points. And what's great about DoJo is you can make your own. You can go in and click edit, and then you can make your own negative or positive points. The tool I just started using is in the toolkit, is the noise meter. I have a class and they just really struggle with the conversation part of chants, and they just don't know how loud they are. So I started using this, and you can adjust the sensitivity, as you can just tell by my voice level. And I put this up today, and it was really amazing how quiet that class was based just by using the noise meter.
And that's the one tool up here that you needed a piece of equipment for,
That's
and
right.
that was just a desktop microphone, which didn't require any purchase.
No.
The library had some, and we just had to connect it, basically, was it.
Right.
So.
Another thing that I use a bunch is the timer. So you can go in, you can do a stopwatch or countdown, and so anytime you're working on an assignment or anything, you can put the timer up.
The best thing so far about using this tool for you as a teacher, like what has been the biggest benefit for you in what you do on a daily basis?
One thing is ease of communication with parents.
Okay.
Because when parents join on their device, their cell phone, it pops up as an instant message.
Okay.
So it's quick communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that a whole lot. Sometimes parents aren't able to sit down and check their email, or they're not able to get on the phone, and that's difficult. And so as I'm standing in the hall during passing period, I can type a quick message as to why a student did an outstanding job and got a great point, or maybe why they got a negative point.
Mm-hmm.
It's the story tab where I can put messages and videos to parents. Like I just did this little spooky thing, and I just did, thank you for sharing your spooky goblin with me. Happy Halloween this year on Halloween. And then my video, and then I just told the parents that I was doing station check that day, and then also messages. So like, you know, if I wanted to message all parents or just Caitlin's parent.
So what do you think about for kids? What do you think has been the biggest benefit for them so far? Have they, shared anything with you about what they liked best, or a moment one kid had a really positive moment with regards to the...
Mm-hmm. One thing that's great is seeing their face when they get their points, or at this point we're at the end of a cycle of about 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're getting to where some kids have lots of points. And to see students competing today during when they were doing station work, they were hustling to try to get their last minute stations finished so that they could get DoJo points, so that they could stay either tied or move ahead of another student. And so seeing that competitiveness and is really, really great. And also, like I said before, letting those kids have those incentives that may never be able to have that is pretty great.
Yeah.
One fun tool that the kids like is the random. So you can click it, and it'll randomly go through students, and you can give random DoJo points, which the kids really like. Another thing I like about it is it decreases negative behaviors, like I talked about before, and it really showcases students who are working really hard and making really great choices. So the kids who may be in the shadows sometimes are the ones who really stand out by using Class DoJo.
Well, and I know that they're super proud of their points too, because they are sharing about DoJo outside of this room.
Yes.
And we've had this discussion before, but there was a group of kids that had earned a certain number of points at some point in time, and they got a special reward. They
Mm-hmm.
got to go to the library and print something on the 3D printer,
Mm-hmm.
which was great, and they were super excited about that. But what I loved about that as a teacher is that every other teacher that
Mm-hmm.
happened to be around when that occurred
Mm-hmm.
gave that kid a pat on the back.
Yes.
And because they were like, well, explain to me why you're getting
Mm-hmm.
to do this, and the kids would talk about that, and so they were getting that positive reinforcement from more than just you
Right.
or their parents. They were
Right.
also getting it from other people on the
Right,
campus, which
right.
I thought was really
Yes.
awesome. You know, and you talk about those kids in the shadows, you know.
Yes.
So for a kid like that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really
Right.
reinforcing positive
Well,
behavior.
you know, because I work with kids in intervention, maybe they're not successful in other classes.
That's true.
And maybe they don't get the incentives in other classes because sometimes those incentives are academic.
Mm-hmm.
And not that we don't focus on academics, we do. But it's important to also, you know, talk about the growth mindset
Mm-hmm.
and continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And how if kids are working super hard and then they're getting incentives for that, then that encourages them to work harder. And then by default, we're going to see the academics come up and up and up because they're working super hard.
Yeah, I agree with that totally, for sure. So with regards to just, you know, setting up dojo or implementing dojo, what's been your biggest challenge so far?
For me, it's consistency. I want to be sure that, like I said before, I want to be sure that I'm going to be consistent with it before I invite parents and students.
What do you think the approximate time commitment, I mean, has it added additional work? Like, would you say that, you know, I spend an extra 10 minutes a day doing dojo, or it hasn't affected?
Yeah, it really hasn't.
Okay.
Other than just setting it up, and really all that is typing your kids in.
Yeah.
But because I can multitask,
Mm-hmm.
because I can, as my kids are entering the room, they're getting points. As they're doing their number of the day, their bell ringer, I'm walking around, I'm giving them points for that.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm doing small group instruction, I'm paying attention to who's on task, who is not, how many times have I had to recorrect that child or not, which really, that's what we do as educators anyway.
Right.
Because usually there's some way to communicate with parents, and we have to remember that anyway.
Right.
So we're already taking stock on who's doing their stations or not. Now the only difference is while they're packing up,
Mm-hmm.
I have my phone out or my iPad, or I'm at my computer and I'm just giving points.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the main reasons I asked you that is because I think that's one of the things as educators, it scares us a lot, is if we add something new,
Yes.
is that going to take time away from all of the other commitments that we already are responsible for?
Right.
So that's one of the reasons that I asked you that.
But also it has taken away some disruptive behaviors. So really I'm probably
Gaining time.
adding time
Mhm.
because if I have a child who has excessive talking and I've already given the warning, then all I have to say is, I'm sorry, you're earning a negative dojo point for that.
Mhm.
And I give it and it's over and we're moving on from it.
Mhm.
And so that's probably gaining instructional time from that way.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Any advice you want to give to anybody who's thinking about using it?
I would say just give it a try
Yeah.
without anyone knowing. Just give it a try and see if it's for you.
Mhm.
And it might not be, but I find that it's really easy and the kids really like it. And it's easy to use.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
give it a try.
Okay, so we're going to say bye now, and give Class DoJo a try.